Hello everyone, and welcome to the Zero Citizen Masterclass, Tokenised Climate Solutions. Key takeaways from this session is to understand the current climate situation and Zero Citizen's role within it, role of carbon credits and their tokenised future, and the need for carbon registry modernisation, and also the potential for energy decentralisation. And I'm looking to see where blockchain technology fits into all of this in a bit more detail. If you do have any questions, then please feel free to ask at the end. We've got a bit of a Q&A. So if you can hold to then, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you. So, Zero Citizen is an innovative climate tech company that focuses on carbon management and clean energy solutions. Now, the why to why we exist is that we're here to empower the masses to do their part in tackling climate change. And we want to become a communal hub for individuals and businesses alike to focus on all things net zero. Now, it was founded last year. The market gap that we really saw potential for was that the existing solutions out there are very archaic and outdated. And as such, there's been a lack of net zero adoption. And in terms of the team's USPs, we've got a lot of experience in the hardware and innovation and software innovation side of things. So, now the core team is myself as the co-founder and CEO, Ben Bonner. I've got over 6 years experience in product development, 14 plus years in avionics and electrical engineering, of which 13 was in the Royal Air Force. My key responsibilities is managing the team, resources, risks and strategy. Also we have with us today the co-founder and CTO Thomas Langlois, who has over 20 years experience in software engineering and architecture. He's also developed the business intelligence API platform within Cardano itself called Cardano BI. And his key responsibilities is essentially all things software related. And we have Ken Dervish as well, who's our CCO, an experienced professional with over 20 years experience in education and 5 years experience in blockchain. And his focus is to develop the community both internal and external to Web3. So taking a look at why we're here, why Zero Citizen exists, and global warming. Now, according to the IPCC, greenhouse gas emissions are at the highest levels in 2 million years, and they're still rising. The Earth is also 1.1 degrees C warmer than it was in the 1800s, so that's pre-industrial revolution. And whilst I'm talking, I'm just going to play this little GIF on the slide there, starting from the 1880s, so pre-industrial revolution. And all the countries came together within the 2015 Paris Agreement and agreed that the global average temperature shouldn't exceed 2 degrees C this century, and ideally it's kept between lower than 1.5 degrees C. Now, on the GIF that you can see is moving there, you can see the average temperature increase, slowly increasing, but at a very sort of stable and steady rate. As we get towards the 1990s and the 2000s, you can see the temperature start to spiral a bit more out of that stable increment, and it's a bit more out of control now as we get to the 2020s. And we can see this little graphic will turn to 3D motion. You can see here a lot of stable temperature increase and stability. As we get to the 2000s, start to see it become a lot more unstable in terms of the temperature, the global average temperatures. On the right-hand side, you can also see the CO2 parts per million as well. So this is over the last 800,000 years. This graphic's from NASA, and it never went above 300 parts per million for that 800,000 years until 1911, so post-industrial revolution, where we start using all the oil and gas. And today we're at 420 parts per million, so significant increase there. And of course, the main effects are extreme weather events that we all see, so the droughts, the extreme storms, heat waves, of course, rising sea levels. So that's in part due to melting glaciers, which have a twofold effect. So the white sheets of ice are no longer reflecting the sun's energy back to Earth. That's one side of it. Obviously, as it melts, that's adding to the rising sea level, as well as expansion of seawater. So as salt water heats, it expands, so that's in turn contributing as well. And this is endangering wildlife, so it's estimated around 1 million species of plant and wildlife are at risk of extinction due to climate change. And of course that also affects us humans. So in countries that will see like extreme climate change effects, they will start to reduce the amount of resources that's going to be available, so lots of lack of water, for example, and also see climate wars occur where neighbouring countries are warring over natural resources. Now, in terms of Cardano sustainability, the proof of stake mechanism that Cardano utilises is 99.8% more energy efficient than that of proof of work, such as Bitcoin. In terms of the sustainable scalability side of things, obviously the way in which Cardano was built is that it's built to scale and grow significantly, so it's got solid foundations to build on. In terms of the UN SDG global goals, obviously it does its part and towards climate change, and with companies such as Veritree, companies such as ourselves as well. And in terms of refugees, you have the UNHCR, who's here today as well. It has an ESG rating of A, and that's from Green Crypto Research. Sustainable ADA is a project within Cardano that does a lot of research on this as well, and there's some reports out there. It's definitely worth checking out. And there's some carbon neutral stake pools as well. So there's climate neutral Cardano, which is a group of stake pools that are climate friendly. Now, the current blockchain assets that we have is 2,050 Zero Citizen NFTs, of which 500 have been minted already. And these all provide access to the Citizens Club, which offer discounts and early access to all these Zero Citizen products. And we are looking at 68 and using these NFTs as a potential carbon credit storage. Going forward, we're going to be releasing the Zero Citizen token in 2024. And this is a utility token that can be used to pay for all the Zero Citizen products and services. We are also releasing or working on the fractionalized renewable energy assets and fractionalized EV chargers as well, which we'll be touching on very shortly. And also implementing an on-chain carbon neutral certification that's going to use ADA handles as upcoming virtual sub-handles. So in terms of traction, we're a registered member with the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment, a registered member with Vera to obtain our carbon credits. We're partnered with Veritree for verified reforestation, and we have our own bespoke carbon offset solution called the Carbon Balance Service, which is now its open beta launch. On social media, we have 3,000 Twitter followers, and on Discord, we have over 3,000 community members as well. So we're going to take a look at carbon credits, and those that aren't aware, one carbon credit is equal to 1 tonne or 1,000 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. These are all derived from projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and this can be through carbon avoidance, such as wind farms and solar farms, whereby oil and gas is no longer used to produce electricity. It can be done through synthetic carbon capture, so it's often used in the manufacturing industry, and also the natural capture of carbon, which is sequestration through trees, seagrass, etc. An example of this is a wind farm over its lifespan might avoid 100,000 tonnes of CO2 being emitted, and so that project will receive 100,000 carbon credits to sell. And these carbon credits can be used to offset against greenhouse gas emissions in order for a company to achieve carbon neutrality. However, they shouldn't be used as a license to pollute. So we are very much of the mindset that companies should reduce their carbon footprint as much as feasibly possible, and then any residual emissions should then be offset with carbon credits. And these carbon credits and the projects are managed by carbon registries such as Vera and Gold Standard. We'll touch on Vera shortly. So looking ahead at tokenized carbon credits, and these will be NFTs. These will now become liquid assets and tradable through marketplaces as well as wallets. Currently it's in a very centralized format, so one single platform such as Vera, it can only be traded on that platform itself. There's obviously a finite quantity based on the amount that the project has earned. And now, going forward, if you use blockchain technology, you can use trustless payments with smart contracts. Currently, with the current system with Vera, you have to find an email address, email them, see how many carbon credits they've got, what price they'll sell it for, and then strike a deal and trade away. And offline, it's obviously got its inherent risks. So trustless payments is a key thing there. The metadata would obviously refer back to the carbon credit project itself that it originated from. And in terms of any supported documents, that could all be submitted to the blockchain ledger. There'll also be a smart contract for on and off ramping of these carbon credits. So the on ramp will be minting the carbon credits from the projects themselves, and that will be through our platform. And also the off ramp, so that once the carbon credits have been utilised and used to offset the carbon footprint, then they'll be sent to a burn wallet. We also believe in a dedicated marketplace being a necessity for this, and we'll explain why very shortly. Now, in terms of the carbon offsetting projections, on the left-hand chart you can see the demand projections, with the purple showing behavioural demand and the light blue showing fundamental demand. So the behavioural demand is companies that are voluntarily offsetting their carbon footprints to gain that competitive advantage. Whereas, and that's been going forward to around maybe 2030, but from then onwards it's pretty much purely going to be fundamental demand, whereby companies will be reducing their carbon footprints gradually up to a point where it's just residual emissions that need to be offset. And the right-hand graphic shows the projected carbon offset prices as well. So currently around 2023, it's sitting around $7.5 to $15 each per carbon credit. And going forward, you can see the high quality carbon credits are going for around $40 per tonne in around 2040. So carbon neutrality, why bother? Obviously the main one, the obvious one, is environmental benefits, so it's going to mitigate climate change. In terms of the economic benefits as well, investing in equipment that's going to be more energy efficient, changing process to be more efficient as well, will not only save CO2 but can obviously reduce costs as well. Stakeholder expectations, so stakeholders, that's clients and even staff members, can start to have an expectation that the company is working towards net zero. Investor requirement is a big thing as well, so more investors are now looking to make sure that the companies they invest in are working towards carbon neutrality and have a carbon reduction plan in place. And that's especially true for government contracts as well. So in the UK, you have to have a carbon reduction plan, you have to have an environmental policy be considered for any government contracts that's been bid for. And there'll be zero citizen benefits as well, so looking to offer business-to-business networking, marketing, as well as on-chain benefits through partners to offer discounts and perks. Now, the carbon management solutions that we are utilising ourselves is our bespoke carbon offsetting service, which is a carbon balance service, where individuals and businesses can calculate their carbon footprint, offset it with carbon credits, and then be certified carbon neutral, both on and off chain. Carbon reduction plan, as I mentioned, where a company establishes the starting point, the baseline footprint, and then has a target date by which it works towards net zero and carbon neutrality. So in the UK, it's legally mandated to be 2050, but many companies are opting for 2040 or even earlier. Have the environmental management system as well, where we'll develop the organisation's environmental management system, work on their manual for it as well, so working on their environmental policies, any environmental emergent procedures, environmental regulations as well, and we'll be able to audit those companies as well. As myself, as I'm a certified lead environmental auditor, and providing companies with an environmental policy. So this is a public declaration from companies, their commitment to environmental responsibility and sustainability. We've just started working with a multi-million-pound regional brewery as well to offer these services to help them work towards carbon neutrality. So looking at carbon registries, we're going to use Verra as the example now. On the right hand side you can see a screen grab from Verra, this is the platform there. The pros of Verra is that all the projects are in one place, it's on one platform, and if you can find them, there's links to supporting documents as to sort of how the project was certified. However, there's significant cons to Verra. Starting with, it's a poor user interface, user experience, so the platform itself is very archaic, it's very outdated, the system it uses. There's high cost as well, so just a basic account starts at $500 per year. There's no mechanism to trade directly, as I mentioned before as well, so you have to find an email within the supported documentation, email them, see if they've got any carbon credits left, how much they're selling it for, and do things that way, and that's not great. So you can obviously, there's the inability to check quantities, And because of its centralised nature, there's a significant lack of transparency, and this ultimately leads to this. So there's a couple of articles here about carbon offsetting in Verra in particular. The right-hand article says more than 90% of rainforest carbon offsets are worthless. And this is a big issue. So again, once someone's found the supporting documentation and really dug deep as to how it was certified, they've found that it's not great, it's pretty worthless, and there's even been claims of phantom projects being created as well, where projects don't even exist and they've been certified. There's big issues there around the transparency of it all. And this ultimately leads to this. So companies, big companies, oil and gas companies such as Shell, Total, BP, and also got GlaxoSmithKline there, are now developing their own carbon offset solutions internally. So they're not using third-party providers, so it's not being regulated at all. And even on the right-hand side, you can see Shell. They plan to reduce their carbon footprint and have now gone back on that. So, and as I mentioned before, the costs are quite significant with these registries. So for Verra, as I'm using as an example, all accounts, basic accounts, start at $500 minimum annually. To register a project, it's up to $10,000. Methodology fees, so to add a new methodology, so a way of reducing greenhouse gas, it starts at $15,000, and the initial and annual verification is $2,500. Ultimately, you're looking at $20,000 as a minimum, and that's just assuming you're using an existing methodology as well. Whereas the way that we've gone about everything, much cheaper, apart from the initial verification side of things, where it'd be up to $4,300 because, and that would cover travel and subsistence. So we could actually go out there to the projects and make sure it's doing as it's saying. And going forward, the annual verification will be cheaper as we use satellite imagery going forward. And as you can see, the total project cost will be $6,800, so almost 3 times as less. Now, as I mentioned, we definitely believe that a dedicated marketplace needs to be used within the blockchain going forward. There's some great marketplaces out there like JPEG Store. However, you have to troll through all the different projects to find us and the carbon credits. And this isn't ideal for non-native blockchain users, so those that aren't familiar with blockchains. So we need a very simple UI, user interface, user experience for non-blockchain regulators to be able to interact with and easily purchase these carbon credits, the tokenized carbon credits. As I mentioned, there'll be the on-ramp, which is the minting process, and then the off-ramp, which would be the burn wallet, where the carbon credits will get sent to once they've been utilised. And this will be just one part of the Zero Citizen platform. Now, looking at decentralising energy. So, in terms of solar photovoltaics or solar PVs, the Earth receives enough energy in 1 hour to power the whole Earth annually. Solar PVs convert sunlight to electrical energy, quite simply. And if it's not used instantaneously, it can be sent to a battery storage, or it can be sold back to the grid. So in the UK, requires a home energy management system and a smart export guarantee license, and then you can sell the electricity back to the grid. However, to purchase electricity, it's around 30 pence per kilowatt hour. And to sell it, the maximum you'll get is 15 pence. So they're already doubling the money there. And the big problem with the solar PVs, there's still significant hurdles for residential adoption of them. In terms of affordability, a 1-bed house will start at £2,400, so it's not extremely affordable. Ownership suitability is a key thing as well. So apartment blocks is a great example where it's either very difficult or impossible to install your own solar PV systems within there. Management, so maybe someone a bit more elderly might be unable to maintain the solar PVs as well. And in terms of the energy storage, the batteries are quite expensive as well. So these are all big hurdles. And our solution is fractionalized renewable energy assets, or FREER for short. So the what part of this is we want to disrupt the energy industry by decentralizing energy through independent power generation. So we'll supply and install solar PVs onto apartment blocks. Now, the electricity is supplied to residents significantly cheaper than that of utility companies. And with the constant changing of electricity prices at the minute, we want to offer that stability and those cheaper prices as well. the key thing here is that residents, without technology, residents will be able to keep their existing utility supplier. And this all forms part of our sharing economy model. So all solar PV fraction owners will be rewarded based on the electricity sold. We estimate this to be an annual yield of 11.2%, but it could be a bit more. In terms of the ownership breakdown, so Xero's system will retain 5% of all the assets that it sells. Apartment block owners will be gifted 5% as an incentive, and then the remaining 90% can be sold to either the apartment block residents or the owners, apartment block owners, and anything left over can then be sold to the public. But we want to take it one step further as well and turn these apartment blocks into sustainable hubs. So we additionally want to supply and install EV chargers into the apartment blocks. And again, they'll use renewable energy wherever feasible. So residents will be able to charge their electric vehicles at a significantly discounted rate compared to that of other public chargers. And again, it's going to utilise a very similar sharing economy model, where all the fraction owners will be rewarded based on that electricity sold, which will generate an annual yield of around 12.6% at a minimum. Again, we think that could be quite a bit higher. And this just shows a mock-up of the Xero Citizen platform and what we're working towards. So it'll have a dashboard so all the fraction owners can see the amount of electricity that their fractions have generated and also their earnings. On the right hand side you can see the fraction purchases or fraction options that you can purchase. This is a video that we won't have time to play, but we might play at the end. So in terms of our revenue streams, the EV chargers and solar PVs will have a 20% markup. The electricity sales, Xero Citizen will take a 10% service fee for all the electricity sold, and will, as mentioned, will retain 5% of every asset that we sell. And we're also looking at fractionalisation as a service going forward as well for non-competing companies. The vision for Xero Citizen is to start with the solar PVs and the EV chargers, fractionalising them within the UK as a starting point. And then wants to take it to phase 2, which is developing solar EV parks, which we'll touch on very shortly, and then branch out to Europe, Middle East and Africa. And also then look at the fractionalisation as a service and try and take that one step further and go globally. Now the solar EV parks use a very similar model that we're already looking at. It's essentially parking facilities that combine EV chargers with the parking. We see significant potential for this with commercial properties such as supermarket chains, and this could then extend to supplying electricity to the supermarkets themselves. And in terms of measuring success for not only ourselves but any clients that we work with, we have the philosophy of the triple bottom line. So it's looking at people, planet and profit. So not only looking at the financial performance side of things, but also the social and environmental impact of that company as well. And it's very much a holistic approach, and it focuses on the long-term success of a business with the sustainability in mind. And it very much shapes the company, its staff and its decisions going forward as well. I'm going to pass you over to Thomas Langlois now, who's going to touch a bit more about the blockchain integration side of things.
Yeah. You did follow.
All right, hi everyone. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be there. Thanks for sticking around. This time is not the best time. It's the lunch break. Hi everyone. I'm Thomas Langlois. I'm the CTO here at Xero Citizen. And I wanted to start by, before jumping into the blockchain integration, I wanted to share a bit of an anecdote with you. So it's been exactly almost 12 months to the day since I first met this gentleman here, Ben. That was during the Cardano Summit of 2022 at Lausanne, and we started discussing about what to make us tick, essentially. So Ben more on the business side in terms of accelerating the transition to net zero, me more on the technology side, in order to build, I would say, a utility on the Cardano blockchain. And I asked him, well, I told him, it's really inspiring what you're saying. You should be a speaker. You should speak to the world in terms of your ambitions. And you know what he said? Yeah, not this year, but next year. Well, he's delivered. We're here in front of you guys, and rest assured that the vision is explained just to you right now is a lot of work. It's great inspiration for us all. I don't know who's concerned about their electricity bill, who's keen in this audience to take back control over their energy production and their over-reliance on those huge utility companies. Well, I am very motivated by this. So that's going to be key. And another key thing that will be allowing us to build this value add for us all will be a blockchain integration. And we're going to look into why now. So let's jump into the topic of the reason why blockchain is so important to realize Zero Citizen's vision. And to answer this question, we need to start by answering why blockchain in the first place. And to do this, we need to talk about tokenized real-world assets, or tokenized RWAs, as you may have heard in the literature. So what are those? Well, they are essentially programmable containers of information, okay? So it means that they can be essentially enriched with all the information and the business logic that users, institutions, and overall regulators need to interact with those contracts. And that's really a key, I would say, paradigm shift in the industry compared to existing assets, especially the electronic asset that we deal with in the financial market, in the financial markets. And this is essential. Why is it essential? Well, first, because it eliminates information asymmetry that we have all over the existing financial markets, where the information is not distributed evenly across participants, and that can create, I would say, imbalance in the market, potentially leading to advantages for those who have access to the right level of information, and disadvantages for those with less quality information. The second quality of tokenized real-world assets is that it enables proactive business management. So, by their programmable nature, through smart contracts, which are essentially self-existing contracts with the terms of the agreement written as code, we are able to automate business operations, streamline those processes, and also, most importantly, remove a lot of the existing intermediaries. And that has a lot of value for a business like Zero Citizen, or any business. They are looking at tokenized real-world assets because it's going to allow them to streamline their operations, be more transparent, and be more efficient. So that's a big bonus. And an example that I could give you where neither of those two properties were met were during the 2008 financial crisis, where when the subprime market exploded, well, all these mortgage-backed asset securities, MBS, they were essentially filled with information asymmetry, and there were so many intermediaries, so many, well, essentially corruption, that the end users that were invested on those assets, they were left in the dark. Only a few were able to dig into this information, were able to anticipate. But tokenized real-world asset, that's really the value add. They bring transparency, and they enable a business world, a 2.0 business world, and that's what Zero Citizen is all about with this net zero acceleration that we're proposing. Last but not least, they are interoperable, which means that they can move freely from one chain to another. And that's also very important for us because we want to be able to create tokenized energy assets which can safely invest in and then move to another chain if you want, for instance, to secure a loan against your apartment block PV assets that you've purchased through Zero Citizen. And that's very important in order to make sure that our customers are confident that investing in those assets is not I would say, something that is closed, that they cannot trust going forward. So this is why we need blockchain technology to enable Zero Citizen's vision. So over the page, we're going to look at how we're going to implement Zero Citizen's vision. So what you're looking at, and now I'm wearing my enterprise architect hat on, you're looking at a sort of a cross between a capability model and a high-level solution architecture document. And you can see that in this architecture, well, you have the engagement layers at the top. They're in blue. You have the actual business capabilities, so going from registration, certification, the vault, fractionalization, marketplace, and reporting that match pretty much what Ben was discussing earlier. In yellow, you see essentially the services. So these are the IT components that will realize those business capabilities. And last but not least, you see the enable capabilities in the pink, which is for the Web 2 component will be the usual cloud providers, and for the Web 3 elements will be, well, the public blockchains that we all love, and mainly we will start with Cardano, of course, because we are Cardano fans and supporters. So, quick words on this architecture. It will be secure by design. We'll use the best principles in terms of Web 2 security, in terms of using OAuth. Same with the Web 3 element. We will follow best principles in terms of integration with your favorite, wallets to store your Zero Citizen tokens and smart and contracts. The architecture is decoupled, so that's very important in order to make the architecture future-proof and to allow evolutions of the products and the various business capabilities that we will be offering. It will be heavily, obviously, blockchain agnostic. Again, that's one of our ambitions, because we realize that the future is for probably hundreds, if not thousands, of those blockchain networks to exist. And they will each have specificities, either based on business outcome, business value outcome, or geographies or jurisdictions. But we will have to be blockchain agnostic and have some bridges between all of those. So let's take an example now over the page of a user journey. We'll take a very simple one, which is the vault. So in that journey, our user who wants to invest into a renewable energy asset via the Freya platform will go to the marketplace and purchase one such asset. It will then hit its wallet, and from there, the user will have the possibility, if he wishes to do so, to lock that asset into a vault in order to gain rewards. And going back to the characteristics of those tokenized real-world assets, that's because all of the information needed is stored on chain into a metadata, I would say, block, and because those assets are powered by two smart contracts, the staking and the rewards smart contract, that this value chain is totally automated. It cannot be changed, even if we wanted to. So it's safe, and there's no intermediary. You will get your reward if you so wish to lock your assets onto the vault. And when you're going to withdraw those rewards, it's up to you. So it's all transparent. It's all the value proposition of blockchain, really. And then, last but not least, my last slide. I'm not going to go into too much detail. This is a more detailed, I would say, solution design of the overall Freya platform. A few things I'm going to say. Again, it's very decoupled, and that's again key in order to build a product that can evolve and be, I would say, cost-effective in terms of maintenance. It's API-led. There are APIs everywhere between each layer, between the engagement layer, the business layer, the core services layer. It's all API-based, including the access to the underlying blockchains. It's API-based. It's powered by smart contract in terms of the maintenance and life cycle of those tokenized assets. And one last thing is that the way to expose to the end user, either retail end user or corporates or regulators who will want to monitor these activities, we need to provide them with the right data analytics in real time as well. So for that purpose, we need an operational data store, which is essentially a data store which is optimized for read versus the blockchain, which are essentially optimized for security. And that's a key element. That's going to power, I would say, the great user experience we want to offer to our clients, where they will be able to track their rewards, they will be able to track the performance of their essentially the investment in those tokenized assets. So it's a lot, I would say, to do. I think my parting words will be, I think we're plenty on time, so I can add a few parting words. I think we need all of you. We need the community to achieve that goal. We need investors as well. That's for sure. But it's absolutely achievable. And at the end of the day, when comes Catalyst Fund 11, if you have a good souvenir of this presentation today, then think about us and vote for us. There's a great outcome that can be delivered by this sort of platform. So thank you very much. And I'll hand it over to Ben for the closing statements.
Cheers, Thomas, thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, then we'll do a bit of a Q&A now. We do have time as well afterwards to play that video that I mentioned earlier. Do you have any questions at all? No? Alright, in that case, you can stay for a bit. We also have this video pinned on our Twitter profile as well, but I'll play it here now as well.
Zero Citizen is an innovative climate tech company with a mission to deliver carbon management and clean energy solutions. Zero Citizen's vision is to create a world where everyone has access to clean energy and the tools to act on climate change. We are simultaneously developing an important solution to improve adoption of solar PV systems and EV chargers for those that may otherwise struggle or be unable to embrace this technology. Whilst a recent study found 50% of respondents considering purchasing an EV in the next 3 years, only 13% of surveyed industry executives anticipate that their countries will be ready to support the EV fleet by 2030. What's more, whilst national energy security and unstable fuel prices are significant areas for concern, there are still significant hurdles preventing adoption of electric vehicles and the infrastructure needed to support them. For electric vehicle chargers, there are two key issues: affordability, with the average cost starting at £1,000 for an EV charger. Owning an electric vehicle and the infrastructure required is still unaffordable for many. Ownership suitability. Residents within flats or apartments, especially those renting, are likely more reluctant to invest in their own EV charger setup. This is why Zero Citizen has developed fractionalized electric vehicle chargers. Zero Citizen will supply and install EV chargers for residential buildings, in particular apartment blocks whose residents would otherwise be unable to install their own EV charger systems. The EV chargers will supply electricity directly to the residents' vehicles at a very affordable price. What's more, where feasible, will install the EV chargers with a solar PV setup to supply and store renewable energy as the primary energy source. By fractionalizing EV charger systems and increasing charging availability, Zero Citizen is supporting the transition towards electric vehicles. Zero Citizen will retain 5% of the asset, apartment block owners will receive 5%, and apartment block residents will be eligible to own the remaining 90%. All unsold fractions of the EV chargers will be made available to the public to purchase. With a zero citizens sharing economy, all owners of EV charger fractions will be rewarded based on the electricity sold. In addition to EV chargers, Zero Citizen will also supply and install solar PVs onto residential buildings, which will utilise the same ownership model as fractionalised electric vehicle chargers. The electricity generated will be supplied directly to the residents at a price significantly cheaper than that charged by utility companies. What's more, residents will be able to keep their existing utility supplier. By fractionalising EV chargers and solar PV systems and moving towards independent power generation, Zero Citizen is working towards decentralising energy. Zero Citizen's vision is to create sustainable apartment blocks, which will utilise renewable energy to not only power apartments, but also the EV charger stations we install as well.
Apartment block residents are a group that's often overlooked. Zero Citizen is ensuring they have the means to charge their electric vehicles and power their apartments sustainably using renewable energy. Increasing electricity produced by renewable energy improves national energy security, and with our electricity prices cheaper than the average utility company, we are directly supporting those affected by fuel poverty, which is roughly 3.3 million households in England alone. Within 5 years, the project will have created 30 jobs directly and around 30 jobs indirectly. So apartment blocks will go from this to this.
Zero Citizen's team has 20 plus years in software engineering and architecture, 50 plus years in high-tech business, 15 plus years in product development and previous startup experience for 3 among the 5 team members. The team also has significant blockchain experience, including expertise in developing Web3 applications and growing global communities.
And that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. If you'd like to speak to us, we'll be outside in the foyer. But thank you very much. Much appreciated. Cheers.